Nestled in the Andean highlands of northern Ecuador is the amiably cultured city of Otavalo. With a largely indigenous population of around 90,000 people, its world-famous crafts market and breathtaking surrounding scenery of towering volcanoes make it a popular destination for worldly travelers around the globe. Seldom can one find the same invigorated influence on indigenous culture that is found here. On the tail end of a revolutionary civil movement, which began after centuries of oppression and exploitation stemming from the Spanish Conquisition, the Quechua heritage pervades all aspects of life and is more than alive and well.
Another thing that I think is really cool about Otavalo is the way that so much pride has developed in indigenous culture, and that there are so many efforts and activities going on to promote that and to strengthen the culture. I think it's really neat that here in Otavalo, it's very common to see somebody in traditional indigenous dress jumping into a brand new pickup truck, driving to the apartment building that they own. And so it's like something you can be proud of as your indigenous identity. And if you make it economically, you're still proud of being indigenous.
Anna Taft, founder of a nonprofit organization known as the Tandana Foundation, which ventures to facilitate intercultural relationship building through offering unique volunteer opportunities, scholarships, and support for small community projects in Ecuador and Mali, places great value on cultural awareness and working selflessly for the benefit of others. Born and raised in Ohio, she tells an interesting story of the events that led to her profound realization that tourism in its most capitalist sense tends to fall short of true, meaningful shared experiences between people of different cultural backgrounds.
When I was in high school, my parents took me on a safari to Kenya, and they were all excited about seeing all the animals, the elephants, giraffes, all that stuff. But the whole time I wasn't that interested in the elephants. I was actually just feeling really uncomfortable with the whole situation of myself as the tourist, very wealthy in this, car with this fancy food, and then driving by villages where people obviously lived very differently, had very different economic means, but also very different cultures.
This insightful experience of Anna's has manifested into real opportunities for people like me and many others to form lasting memories of unique interactions with diverse groups of people. Okay. ¿Solo metí un mano cada vez?
Sí, ¿cuánto vamos a lavar? Así poco, solo poca agua y poco de eso. Después que está puesta en deja, se le saca, se le jabona. Se le llevo los cuellos.
Okay.
Pues se ponga agua.
Segundo Morales has known Anna since she first came to Ecuador to do volunteer work nearly 20 years ago. He talks about how motivated, curious, and enthusiastic she was about helping others.
Cuando yo trabajaba era mi segunda institución educativa, la ATP Yaguazo en Panecillo. Estaba trabajando con los niños de la escuela y llegaron unos jóvenes, ¿no? De una fundación, sería Travel School, parece que era, que estaban haciendo como un intercambio estudiantil.
Segundo reflects on how, in those first few months of teaching in the rural community of Panecillo, just outside of Otavalo, Anna could see that in certain communities and to a certain point, there was neglect on the part of the state in the areas of health and education.
But some of the local kids were like, hey, teach us English, teach us English. So I offered English courses for just optional for whoever wanted to participate, and had some kids who would come to that. People were excited, kids were excited about it.
Tal vez tuvo ese sueño, ¿no? De ver después haciendo una fundación llegar hasta las comunidades y tratar de atender de alguna forma a esa gente que a veces el Estado no lo atendía.
After her initial span of time in Ecuador, Anna went on to work for what's known as a traveling school, which took high school girls on trips through Latin American countries over a period of 3.5 months. During this time, Anna taught the girls course material in history and language that was pertinent to the countries they visited. Throughout this adventure, Anna was able to obtain invaluable knowledge on how to effectively facilitate communication between people of different cultures. Segundo recalls how Anna returned a few years after her initial journey to Ecuador with the idea for the Tandana Foundation. She began work in schools teaching English, where she brought different learning materials such as notebooks and art supplies to enhance the learning process. Segundo eventually left the school at Panecillo to pursue other opportunities, but word of the successful work being done by the foundation continued to reach his ear. The foundation was growing. It was no longer solely working in the schools, but in the arenas of community health, environmental awareness, as well as tackling the question of how to provide motivated Indigenous students with the opportunity to pursue continuing education. This gave rise to Tandana's local scholarship program, which in its present state is providing around 90 children of Indigenous heritage the chance to pursue their career dreams.
Porque dice que son, como tengo 5 que están estudiando, tú mismo conoces, entonces diariamente me sale el dinero que se gana, casi no se alcanza, como sea, pero tratamos de darle estudio y con la fundación que nos ayuda. Eso es muy importante para mí, fue muy importante que me ayuda. El momento que, por ejemplo, para entrar al nuevo año o empezar el año, uniforme, útiles, todo eso, me tocaba comprar a todos ellos. Pero ahora la fundación que está ayudándome, ya no me preocupo yo.
Carlos and his family were so generous and kind when they took me into their home over my 3-month stay in Ecuador, and they show their appreciation by treating people like me as part of their family. Anna's legacy stands as a resounding example of how, given the right context and motivation, ordinary Western people can make extraordinarily progressive changes in the world.